Page 126, problem number 9. Find the slope of the regression line using m equals, and then we've got this messy formula here. Now I'll tell you what, this formula looks much worse than it is. Now before we do anything with this formula, we have to make sure we have completed this problem here, number 7 on the same page. So if you haven't done this yet, go back and make sure you do it. Now if you already did this, perfect, we're set to go. We're going to use some of these numbers from this table. In fact, the numbers we're going to use are these in the very last row. Okay, so let's go back to the problem here. Okay, so what we're finding is the slope of the regression line. So let's try to fill in what we can here. Now, see this here to start n, and there's actually an n down here as well. That is the number of points that we had, that we were given in problem number 7. So if you graph those points, how many do you have? Well, if you go back and count, there's 7 of them. So let's start with 7 times. Now, all of these in parentheses. Anytime you see a set of parentheses, that means take one of those values in the bottom of that table and plug it in right here. So for example, this is the summation of xy. That means look on the bottom of the xy column. I'm going to go back to it. On the bottom of the xy column and take this number and plug it in place of those parentheses. So in this case, it's going to be 8079 minus. Next is summation of x. So on the bottom of the x column is 172. Next is summation of y. On the bottom of the y column is 262 over. There's that n again. So I've got 7 times. Next is the summation of x squared. So if I look on the bottom of the x squared column, I've got 5060 minus. Now careful, this looks the same, but this means we're looking now in the bottom of the x column and then squaring that value. So I've got here 172 squared. All right. Now that we're this far, take a look at what's on top of your fraction. We can take that and just type that all into a calculator. It doesn't matter what calculator you're using. Type that in left to right. If you do that, you get a value of 11,489. Same thing with our denominator. Type that in left to right. That'll give us a value of 5,836. And if you divide these, you'll have our value of our slope, which is about 1.97. Whoops, 1.97 or so, depending on how you round that. So the value of slope in our regression equation is going to be about 1.97.